If I'm still alive, I will come back.
Unconquered territory.
On August 9th, 1986, Freddie Mercury stepped onto the stage for what would be his final live performance with Queen. His doctor had warned him not to perform. His health was declining, and his voice was beginning to fail. Tragically, during the emotional rendition of Who Wants to Live Forever, a fan in the crowd lost their life, casting a shadow over the historic event. But what happened after the show shocked everyone. John Deacon had a violent outburst backstage, and Freddie mysteriously vanished from public view. Today, that concert is remembered not just as Queen's final performance, but as a beginning of an era's end. Freddie Mercury was born on September 5, 1946, in Zanzibar, then part of a British protectorate. His family was Parsi and followed the ancient Zoroastrian religion. From birth, Freddie stood out. He was born with 4 extra teeth, something he later credited for his unique 4-octave vocal range. His childhood was steeped in African, Arab, and Indian cultures, which would deeply influence his music and style. Before fleeing Zanzibar during the violent revolution of 1964, Freddie spent much of his early life in India. At the age of 8, he was sent to a British-style boarding school near Mumbai called St. Peter's in Panchani. It was there that he began calling himself Freddie and first discovered his passion for music. A perceptive teacher recognized his talent and encouraged his parents to pay for extra music lessons, a decision that changed the course of Freddie's life. At just 12 years old, he formed his first band, the Hectics, performing covers of rock and roll legends like Cliff Richard and Little Richard. Freddie also admired Bollywood stars like Lata Mangeshkar, blending these Eastern and Western influences into what would later become Queen's signature sound. After fleeing the violence in Zanzibar, Freddie's family settled in Feltham, a suburb of London. Life in England was a struggle at first, but Freddie was determined. He enrolled at Isleworth Polytechnic in 1964 and later studied graphic design at Ealing Art College. His artistic skills would eventually be used to create Queen's iconic crest logo. To support himself, he worked odd jobs, including washing dishes at Heathrow Airport. During his time at Ealing, Freddie met Tim Staffel, who was in a band called Smile with guitarist Brian May and drummer Roger Taylor. Freddie frequently gave them advice, and eventually, when Tim left the band, he stepped in as lead singer. He suggested a new name, Queen, believing it sounded grand and powerful. Their first concert as Queen was in June 1970 at a charity event, but they still lacked a bassist. After trying out several musicians, they found John Deacon in 1971. Around this time, Freddie changed his last name to Mercury, inspired by a lyric he wrote, "Mother Mercury, look what they've done to me." Despite their now iconic status, Queen's early days were not easy. Their self-titled debut album in 1973 barely made it onto the charts in the UK and reached only number 83 in the US. Their second album in 1974, Queen 2, didn't perform much better, peaking at number 49 in the UK. The band was discouraged until their third album, Sheer Heart Attack, finally broke through. It featured the song Killer Queen, which became their first major hit. Written by Freddie in a single night, the song's lyrics came before the melody, unusual for him. It told the story of a high-class prostitute and featured a dazzling guitar solo by Brian May, played with a sixpence coin. Despite its commercial success, the song sparked tension within the band. Drummer Roger Taylor worried that its playful tone would make Queen seem less serious as a rock band. In fact, Killer Queen was recorded last and nearly left off the album after heated debates. But it was Bohemian Rhapsody that catapulted Queen into superstardom. Released in 1975 as part of the album A Night at the Opera, the song was a groundbreaking mix of ballad, opera, and hard rock. It took 3 weeks to record, involved 180 overdubs, and cost £40,000 to produce, making it the most expensive song ever at the time. EMI executives doubted its potential, especially because it ran over 6 minutes long. They pushed the band to trim it for radio, but Queen refused. Instead, their manager slipped the song to popular DJ Kenny Everett, who played it 14 times in a weekend. Audiences were captivated. Bohemian Rhapsody topped the UK charts for 9 straight weeks. After Freddie Mercury's death in 1991, the song returned to number 1 for 5 more weeks. In the US, it originally peaked at number 9 in 1976 but soared to number 2 in 1992 after being featured in the film Wayne's World. The song went on to sell millions of copies and became one of the best-selling singles in UK history. Queen didn't just transform rock music, they revolutionized the music video. The accompanying video for Bohemian Rhapsody changed how artists promoted their songs, laying the groundwork for the MTV era that would follow. Bohemian Rhapsody's music video, though filmed in just 4 hours and costing only £4,500, was groundbreaking for its time. The iconic image of the 4 band members' faces arranged in a prism-like formation was created using a visual feedback trick, and it quickly became one of the most recognized shots in music video history. The video's success marked a turning point, proving that visuals could become an essential part of song promotion. Queen continued pushing creative boundaries in their videos. In I Want to Break Free, the band dressed in drag, parodying characters from the British soap opera Coronation Street. It was bold and humorous, but MTV banned the video in the US due to its content. Meanwhile, Radio Gaga became one of the most expensive videos of its time, featuring scenes from the film Metropolis, which Queen paid $100,000 to license. Their live performances were just as legendary. During their 1975 A Night of the Opera tour, they introduced a custom lighting setup, with 168 lights and 12 aircraft landing lights, requiring its own generator and hours to assemble. By 1986, at their iconic Wembley shows, the rig had expanded to over 1,000 lights, including a 5-ton crown-shaped frame. Freddie Mercury's stage presence evolved significantly over the years. In the early days, he was shy and stayed mostly behind the piano. The famous half-MIC stand he used originated from an accident. His stand broke mid-performance, but he liked the mobility it gave him and adopted it as part of his act. Freddie's style became increasingly flamboyant. By 1973, inspired by Jimi Hendrix, he began painting his nails black and wearing glam rock outfits designed by Zandra Rhodes. In 1976, he debuted his tight Harlequin jumpsuit, which had to be sewn onto him before every show. By the 1980s, Freddie transformed again, growing a mustache and wearing leather pants and military-style jackets inspired by New York's gay club scene. His playful energy remained intact. In I Want to Break Free, he famously appeared in drag while keeping his mustache, confusing and provoking audiences worldwide. As Queen continued to tour, Freddie's stage antics became even wilder. During the Hot Space Tour in 1982, he sang We Will Rock You while riding on the shoulders of a crew member dressed as Darth Vader. In Japan, he once stripped down to just a pair of shorts mid-concert, removing pieces of his costume throughout the performance. His charisma made every show unforgettable. In the early 1980s, Queen's music also shifted. The 1981 album Hot Space saw Freddie and bassist John Deacon experimenting with disco and funk influences. Many fans didn't appreciate the change, and controversy followed the 1982 release of Body Language, which MTV banned for provocative lyrics and visuals. Still, Freddie continued exploring new creative directions. In 1985, he released his first solo album, Mr. Bad Guy, which took 2 years to complete in Munich. Filled with dance tracks and synthesizers, the album reflected Freddie's personal vision. He even dedicated it to his cats. This album is from my cat Jerry. Also Tom, Oscar, and Tiffany, and all the cat lovers in the universe. Screw everybody else. Though the album didn't perform well in the US, it reached the UK top 10 and gave Freddie the confidence to keep going. In 1987, he collaborated with Spanish opera legend Montserrat Cabal on the album Barcelona. The title track, a mix of opera and rock, showcased the sheer power of Freddie's voice and became the anthem of the 1992 Barcelona Olympics. Though tragically, Freddie wouldn't live to see it performed. During this time, Queen was also facing internal challenges. After Hot Space, the band took a break in late 1982. Tensions were high. While recording 1984's Works, Brian May got so frustrated he left the studio to wander apart, seriously considering quitting. John Deacon abruptly flew to Bali without telling anyone, shocking the band. Freddie, upon hearing this, jokingly sang Bali High from South Pacific. The band also faced criticism for performing in Sun City, South Africa, during apartheid. Their appearance led to a ban from the Musicians' Union and condemnation from the United Nations. At a 1985 concert in Rio de Janeiro, fans even booed the band. Meanwhile, Freddie's personal life was turbulent. His manager, Paul Prenter, was disliked by the rest of Queen. Brian May refused to mention his name in interviews, referring to him only as the guy who looked after Fred. Everything changed on July 13, 1985, when Queen took the stage at Live Aid. Despite not feeling well and having vocal problems, Freddie was determined to perform. At 6:41 p.m., Queen delivered what is now considered one of the greatest live performances in rock history. In just 21 minutes, they performed parts of their biggest hits, Bohemian Rhapsody, Radio Gaga, We Are the Champions, and captivated the world. During Radio Gaga, Freddie led the crowd in rhythmic claps, creating a powerful visual and emotional moment that's now etched into music history. The Magic Tour became one of Queen's most iconic moments, forever etched in music history. During their Live Aid performance, Freddie Mercury led the massive Wembley crowd in clapping along, creating an unforgettable moment. Over 1.9 billion people watched the show on television. Backstage, Elton John told the band, "You bastards, you stole the show." That performance not only revived Queen's career, but also sparked a new wave of energy and creativity for the band. After Live Aid, they began working on a new album, A Kind of Magic, meant to serve as a soundtrack for the movie Highlander, which dealt with themes of immortality. The band embraced digital recording technology to create a modern sound. The title track, A Kind of Magic, was inspired by a line from film, though Freddie changed the original version, upsetting drummer Roger Taylor. Another standout, Who Wants to Live Forever, was written by Brian May after watching an emotional scene from the movie. The song featured an 80-piece orchestra, giving it an epic, dramatic sound. In 1986, Queen planned what would become their biggest and most ambitious concert series ever, the Magic Tour. Spanning 26 shows in 9 countries across Europe in just 8 weeks, the tour was a logistical marvel. The stage itself was enormous, 160 feet wide, with 2 long catwalks extending into the crowd. It was one of the largest stages ever constructed at the time, and required over 8 miles of cables to power the lights, sound system, and effects. A towering 20-foot video screen, supported by its own generator, amplified the visual experience. The sound system was so powerful that people miles away could hear it, leading to noise complaints from nearby villages. On August 9, 1986, Freddie Mercury took the stage at Knebworth Park at 6:41 p.m., unaware it would be his last live performance with Queen. Over 120,000 fans filled the field, buzzing with excitement as the opening chords of One Vision rang out. Freddie, in his signature white tank top and tight jeans, appeared confident, but he was not in good health. Earlier that day, his doctor warned him against performing due to an inflamed throat. But Freddie refused to let down his fans. As he sang One Man, One Goal, One Mission, his voice cracked slightly, but no one cared. The band had prepared a backup set list in case Freddie couldn't handle the more demanding songs, but he powered through. During Under Pressure, his voice faltered on a high note. Instead of stopping, he turned the microphone to the crowd, who sang it back to him, making the moment even more magical. At 8:03 p.m., they played Who Wants to Live Forever, a deeply emotional highlight of the night. The lyrics hit hard, almost as if Freddie was singing about his own fate. By 8:17 p.m., they launched into Bohemian Rhapsody, one of their most challenging songs. Freddie astonished everyone by singing parts of the operatic section live, something usually played from tape, and he even nailed a high note he hadn't attempted in years. The crowd erupted. Their final song was We Are the Champions. Freddie's voice cracked again, but he didn't hold back. He pushed through, stretching the note longer, feeding off the energy of the roaring crowd. By the time the band closed with God Save the Queen at 8:59 p.m., the atmosphere was electric. Freddie did something different. He didn't leave the stage right away. He stood still with his eyes closed, then turned to the audience, bowed deeply, and said, "Thank you, lovely people. Good night and sweet dreams." It was 9:02 p.m., Freddie Mercury's final live performance. Behind the scenes, emotions were running high. Just 18 minutes before the show, Queen's usually calm and reserved bassist John Deacon had a meltdown. He threw his bass guitar across the dressing room, nearly hitting Roger Taylor's drum tech. It shocked everyone. Deacon had never acted that way in 15 years with the band. He told Brian May, "I can't do this anymore. It's too much. suggesting he knew this might be the end of the road with Freddie. He also clashed with a sound engineer about his bass levels. But despite his turmoil, Deacon went on stage and delivered one of the best performances of his life. Tragically, the night also saw the death of a young fan. During Who Wants to Live Forever, 23-year-old Michael Jennings collapsed just 50 meters from the stage. Medics rushed in, but he couldn't be revived and was pronounced dead at 9:43 p.m. as Queen played Bohemian Rhapsody. The band wasn't told about the incident until after the show. Jennings had an undiagnosed heart condition, and the combination of excitement and the crush of 120,000 people proved too much. Just 2 days earlier, he had won his ticket from a radio contest. His friend Sarah, who was with him, said he kept saying it was the best night ever. Then, suddenly, he just fell. His death led to stricter crowd safety regulation for large concerts in the future. After the concert, Freddie Mercury did something completely out of character. He skipped the post-show celebrations and left the venue immediately. Normally, he loved mingling with the crew and basking in the afterglow of a show. But that night, he vanished just seconds after the final song. His assistant, Peter. Freddie Mercury's final hours after Queen's last concert were filled with emotion and unspoken farewells. According to his longtime assistant Peter Freestone, Freddie received a phone call from his doctor just before going on stage. The news must have been worrying, and combined with the physical demands of performance, it weighed heavily on him. That night, Freddie even forgot his silver bracelet, a piece of jewelry he had worn to every show since 1977. A cleaner later found and returned it. On the ride back to London, Freddie sat silently, dabbing at his eyes with a handkerchief, lost in thought. Backstage, he had turned to Freestone and whispered, "I don't know if I can do this." After the show, Roger Taylor found Freddie sitting alone in the dressing room. Freddie looked up and said, "Darling, I think I've given it my all." At the time, Roger thought he was just tired, but later realized it was Freddie's quiet goodbye. Roger still keeps a drumstick from that night as a memento. John Deacon, who has since left the public eye, admitted that it was the hardest performance of his life. He even cried while playing "These Are the Days of Our Lives," sensing it might be their final moment together. For everyone in the band, that night felt like the end of an era. Freddie's life was marked not only by his immense talent, but by deep relationships, struggles, and emotional complexity. One of the most important people in his life was Mary Austin. They met in 1969 when Freddie was 24 and Mary was just 19. They quickly fell in love, moved in together, and even got engaged. But in 1976, Freddie told Mary he was bisexual. In her calm, grounded way, she replied, "No, Freddie, I think you're gay." Though their romantic relationship ended, their bond remained unshakable. Freddie always called her his one true friend and said no one could ever replace her. He continued to care deeply for her, buying her a flat near his home in Kensington in 1980. In his will, he left her half of his estate, including his mansion. When he died, Mary kept the location of his ashes a secret, just as he had asked. Freddie also had other close relationships, including with Jim Hutton, a hairdresser he met in 1985. They remained partners until Freddie's death in 1991. He also had a deep friendship with Austrian actress Barbara Valentin, and at times the three of them spent time together. His romantic life was layered and complicated, often with overlapping relationships. Struggles with his sexuality and public identity persisted throughout his life. Born in 1946, a time when being gay was illegal in many places, Freddie knew from a young age that he was attracted to men but kept it hidden. When asked about his sexuality, he would deflect with humor or vagueness, once calling himself as gay as a daffodil. It was his playful way of shielding himself from judgment. Beyond the stage, Freddie was a passionate collector and artist. Having studied art and design in college, he loved painting and collecting beautiful things. His home was filled with rare artwork, antique glass, Japanese woodblock prints, and even commissioned portraits of his beloved cats. These treasures reflected his deep appreciation for beauty and artistry. In April 1987, Freddie was diagnosed with HIV, though symptoms had appeared as early as 1982. During a trip to New York that year, he visited a doctor about a lesion on his tongue, possibly an early sign of the disease. Despite this, he fiercely denied rumors about his health, even to close friends. British tabloids, particularly The Sun, began speculating in 1986, but Freddie remained silent. He didn't want pity, nor did he want his illness to overshadow Queen's music. Even within the band, the topic was largely avoided. Brian May later said they never asked questions because Freddie didn't want to talk about it. His assistant Peter Freestone revealed that Mercury had seen many friends die of AIDS and was deeply affected. Mercury focused his love and attention on those closest to him, and often that included his cats more than people. Only one day before his death did Freddie go public with his illness. On November 23, 1991, he released a statement confirming he had AIDS and explaining why he had kept it private. By that point, he was visibly frail, and speculation had been mounting for years. Yet even in his weakest moments, he refused to give up on music. In 1990, Queen recorded the album Innuendo, adjusting their schedule to accommodate Freddie's health. They worked 3 weeks at a time, then rested for 2. Doctors had already told the band that Mercury didn't have much time, but he remained determined. One of the songs, "The Show Must Go On," became a symbol of his resilience. Brian May doubted whether Mercury could handle the vocals, but Freddie downed a shot of vodka and said, "I'll do it, darling." He delivered the entire song in one powerful take. After Innuendo, Mercury kept recording. In May 1991, he worked on Mother Love, though he was too ill to finish it. His final recording session took place on May 22, 1991, when he sang A Winter's Tale. It was later included in Queen's posthumous album Made in Heaven. Despite his deteriorating health, Mercury poured every last ounce of energy into creating music that would outlive him. His final public appearance was at the Brit Awards on February 18, 1990, where Queen received an award for outstanding contribution to British music. Looking thin and weak, Mercury let Brian May give most of the speech. Freddie simply said, "Thank you, good night." Those were his last public words, a simple yet powerful farewell. By June 1991, Mercury remained mostly at home in his Kensington mansion. Friends and Mary Austin visited often. His condition worsened quickly. He lost his eyesight, could no longer move much, and was mostly confined to bed. On November 22nd, he stopped taking all medications except for pain relief. That same day, with the help of Queen's manager Jim Beach, he prepared his public statement. On November 24, 1991, Freddie Mercury passed away peacefully at the age of 45. The cause of death was pneumonia resulting from AIDS. His partner Jim Hutton described his final moments as serene. Mercury looked calm and radiant. Even in death, Freddie Mercury's voice and legacy continued to rise. In 1995, Queen released Made in Heaven, featuring his last recordings. The album became a global hit, selling over 20 million copies. Today, Mercury's legacy remains immortal. His music has billions of streams, and Queen's Greatest Hits is a best-selling album in UK history. His boldness, voice, and passion continue to inspire fans around the world, proving that even though Freddie Mercury is gone, the show does, indeed, go on.